Hello and welcome to the Shorts That Are Not Pants Virtual Film Festival 2020. My name is Diana Sernick and I'm a programmer with the festival, and today I'm very pleased to have with me creator and director and editor of Glad You're Here, Lisa Kannakko. Welcome, Lisa. I've watched this short film memoir I've watched this short film memoir several times, and each time I am impressed with its intimate quality and how beautifully crafted it is. So, Lisa, you draw the audience into your deeply personal story. What gave you the courage to approach this project in the first place?
I don't think it was courage. I think it was a need to comprehend why everything was feeling wrong and try to find the way back to myself. So what I decided to do was go back to university, because I had given so much of my life taken sort of my life had gone off course from my career as a filmmaker and image maker, and I'd put all of my energy into my marriage and my family life and running my husband's business. So I wanted to find myself again. So I went back to school to do an MFA, and that's where I decided to make this film. And that's where I learned like the deeper craft of documentary filmmaking, and began to understand what I needed to do in order to create a real story that would set me into a place where I have a future and a path and a better understanding, but all of myself, my abilities, but also to let it tell a story that I felt I had no choice but to share.
Good. Did you have a clear vision for the film at the outset, or did it change once you began to shape the material?
I did not have any idea of how I could tell that story actually in the beginning, and I had a class where we would have to show the film to our fellow students, and I think I mostly tortured them for most of the year with my footage, which was very abstract. Yeah, and painful. And so it was the first time I'd ever shared any of my work publicly, was with my class of my MFA students. So I was almost like workshopping what I thought I wanted to say with the film. And then at the very end, when I went into the dark room for my final edit, I threw out everything that I had been working on for the year and started over from the beginning. And I made the film kind of like in 48 hours, really. Yeah, at that point I had gone through all the footage, but it was very painful to go through 20 years of footage of your own life. And so it was like pieces of a puzzle that all came together at the very end in a way. But what I thought I was going to say was not what I set out to say in the beginning at all. In fact, when I got to the point where I realized that I needed to outright speak about this thing that had happened to me, I had a total breakdown, and I actually called my best friend from when I was like 5 years old, that we've been friends forever, we're the oldest friends, and she told me that I didn't have to be afraid to speak, that in reality, like, no one had the right to do that to me, and that she kind of just reminded me that I didn't have to keep it hidden anymore, because I had kept it hidden for so many years, and she told me that it would help other people, and I totally didn't believe her. I was such in a weird space of fear and panic, but I decided to do it anyway. And then I was
free. And when it was in the can, did you have a feeling of relief? What was your?
I don't think I started to feel relief until I had a public showing of the work, and then I ran a small gallery, and I had friends and family and people from my community that have known me for a long time come to see the work. And it was when I started to sit in the small theater and watch them view the work that I realized the impact of the film, and I realized that this was a story that others had could relate to as a universal theme. And then I realized I didn't have to carry all of the pain inside myself, and somehow it came out, and it was no longer a burden. I just started to feel lighter, and it was almost like everybody that watched it took a piece of that pain out of me, and kind of gave me permission to breathe again, and they were all crying, and then I realized that that I mattered.
That's quite incredible. Have there been subsequent screenings of the film after that initial support screening, really?
Well, I show it individually to people now, like old friends that kind of pop up into my life, and we're talking and they want to see it. And at festivals like this now, it's being seen. I don't show it publicly outright just because it's an ongoing. I haven't shown it to my daughter, for instance, because I don't want to put her in a position of revisiting a huge trauma that I've watched that's affected her daily life, day to day. So I don't want to like re-traumatize her. So it's actually when she's an adult, if she wants to watch it, but that it's not. I don't want to put her in a situation of revisiting these emotions just when she's getting over them.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious about what the title of the film refers to. You're glad you're here. Whom are you glad is?
The title kind of is double fold. I mean, I think that if you're married to someone and when they come home, you're glad to see them, and that wasn't the situation that I was in. I didn't quite feel appreciated. That I mattered, that when I, was in the room, that they were glad that I was there. And also at the cafe, there was a chalkboard where I would put out on the sidewalk, and I would write funny sayings on the chalkboard to get people from the community to like want to come in and buy a coffee, to just make people feel welcomed. So I would write different things, and one day I wrote "Glad You're Here," and so I had a photograph of that, and then I realized that would be the title of my film.
Good. The music selections you made really enhance the story, the mood, everything about the film. They're quite brilliant. How can you tell me a bit about your music selection process?
Well, I have to give credit to my friend Stefan, who was at the very end looking at my music choices and told me I had really bad taste in music. So we actually went through his library and he helped me, because I would have been like very punk or disco or something. It was wrong what I had chosen. So I was very set on focused on the music, on the visuals, not the music. So because I'm a visual person, I don't really listen to sounds as much. So he was able to help me.
So how much distance, you kind of alluded to it, but how much distance do you have now from the material in the film? Because of course your story is in the past, but time is a stream. And I'm sure that viewers want to know how you and Sophia are just doing after all this that you've been through. So can you tell us a bit about how you're both doing?
We're doing really good. Yeah, we moved into an artist building with subsidized rent, so I don't ever have to worry about getting a job at Walmart, which was a big fear for a while, to have to do a work that would be unrelated to making art. And Sophia's in grade 10 now, so she's a teenager and developing as a young woman and doing really well with school, and we're surviving the pandemic, and life is good. I'm shooting an opera right now with the Royal Conservatory of Music. So it's been a long day of shooting this week. And so I'm really happy. I'm on the path that I want to be on. And I never think about the film actually in a way, because it's in the past and the pain is no longer, I live in the present now. And I think at the time I was making the film, I was so having flashbacks and a lot of fear, and there's like much more like graphic, horrific things that happened that I didn't include in the film because I just could have gone on forever, and I didn't want to carry those things. I like the fact that my memory is bad and that I don't really remember some things, which is great because I feel like I've let it out, and I don't want to continually be reminded of it. So I live in a different part of town now, and I'm continuing to make my art, and we have a happy, warm home, and we're safe. So
that's really, really good to hear. So I'm really pleased. You mentioned at the beginning of the film that you had wanted to be a filmmaker from an early age. What was your inspiration?
For wanting to be a filmmaker?
For wanting to be a filmmaker, what held you along that direction?
Probably watching Star Wars as a kid and wanting to write stories about adventure and falling in love and traveling to distant planets.
Interesting. Now, if anybody, you've sort of said that you've got a bit of a distance from the material, but if anybody wanted to see this film, like, being in this film festival might open up the film to a new audience, and there may be some interest to see it outside of a film festival. How would people go about seeing it, either in small groups, see it as a film that would be a stimulant for discussion with certain small groups? How would they go about getting a copy of the film and showing it?
They can contact me and I can send them a link.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah, a friend of mine is a university professor. She's going to use it as a topic for their documentary class, and I'll go in and do a talk. So anything that anyone needs, they let me know.
Super. Well, I think we've come to the end of our interview, so I want to thank you, Lisa, for sharing your beautiful and important story and beautiful film with us. Thank you for your courage, the courage to create, and really best of luck with all your future filmmaking. We know that we'll hear more from you and see more. So thank you, and
thank you
see you
for
soon.
taking the time to speak with me. Bye.
Bye.